Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. You guys know I love doing crazy challenges and traveling to wild places, but even I have my limits. Today we're diving into some of the most dangerous places on Earth that you should definitely avoid in 2024. We're talking about places where danger is literally around every corner, and just stepping foot in these areas could have some serious consequences. Make sure to like and subscribe for more amazing content. First up, we have Syria. This one is unfortunately a no-brainer. Syria has been ravaged by civil war for over a decade, and it's still incredibly unstable. We're talking constant fighting between the government, rebels, and various other armed groups. Trust me, this is not a place you want to get caught in the crossfire. Imagine cities reduced to rubble, the constant threat of airstrikes, and a severe lack of essential resources like food, water, and medical supplies. It's a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions, and it's not just the fighting you have to worry about. There are kidnappings, bombings, and random acts of violence happening all the time. The Syrian government has also been known to target journalists and aid workers. So if you're thinking about going there to help, think again. The US government has even issued a Level 4 travel advisory for Syria, which is the highest level of warning, meaning do not travel. They're basically saying if you go there, you're on your own, and it's not just the US government saying this. Pretty much every country in the world has issued similar warnings. So, unless you have a death wish, it's best to just stay away from Syria. There are so many other beautiful and safe places to visit in the world. Let's focus on those instead. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but Mr. Beast, you go to crazy places all the time. What makes this different? And you're right, I do. But here's the thing. I have a whole team of security experts who plan my trips meticulously. We do tons of research, we take all the necessary precautions, and we never put ourselves in unnecessary danger. Going to a war-torn country like Syria is just not worth the risk, no matter how adventurous you think you are. Stay tuned, because up next, we're heading to another region grappling with instability and danger, Afghanistan. It's heartbreaking to think about what Syria used to be, once a beautiful country with rich history and culture, now reduced to ruins. The impact on the children is particularly devastating. Many have known nothing but war their entire lives. Despite international aid efforts, the situation remains dire. The global community continues to struggle with how best to help. Many Syrians have fled seeking asylum in other countries, but the journey is fraught with its own dangers and uncertainties. It's important to remember the rich culture and heritage that Syria once had. The war has not only taken lives, but also a part of human history. There are ongoing calls for peace and ceasefire, but achieving stability in such a fractured region is a monumental task. Yet, amidst the chaos, there are glimmers of hope. Efforts to rebuild and restore some semblance of normalcy continue, driven by the resilience of the Syrian people. Diplomatic efforts and international conferences aim to find a resolution, but the path to peace is long and arduous. The world watches, hoping for a day when Syria can rise from the ashes and reclaim its place as a nation of beauty and culture. Until then, let's cherish the peaceful landscapes and serene environments we have, and work towards a world where no nation has to endure such suffering. So, let's focus on exploring the safe and beautiful places around the world, and leave the war zones to the history books. Stay safe, stay curious, and stay tuned for our next adventure. Next up is Afghanistan, a country that's been plagued by conflict for decades. The scars of war are visible everywhere, from the crumbling infrastructure to the weary faces of its people. With the Taliban back in control, the situation is incredibly volatile, especially for foreigners. The return of the Taliban has brought a new wave of uncertainty and fear. The Taliban have a history of being oppressive and brutal, and they're not exactly known for welcoming tourists with open arms. Their strict interpretation of Sharia law leaves little room for freedom or safety. In fact, they've been known to target foreigners for kidnappings and attacks. The threat is real and ever-present, making it a perilous destination. And it's not just the Taliban you have to worry about. The landscape of Afghanistan is a complex web of various militant factions. Afghanistan is also home to other militant groups like ISIS, who are constantly vying for power and control. These groups often clash, leading to further instability and violence. These groups are known for their extreme violence and brutality, and they don't discriminate when it comes to their victims. Civilians often find themselves caught in the crossfire. The country is also littered with landmines and unexploded ordnance from decades of war. making it incredibly dangerous to travel outside of major cities. These hidden dangers pose a constant threat. One wrong step could be your last. The risk of encountering these deadly remnants of war is high, and the consequences are often fatal. The US government, along with many others, has issued a Level 4 travel advisory for Afghanistan, urging citizens to avoid all travel to the country. This is the highest level of travel warning. They cite the risk of terrorism, civil unrest, and kidnapping as major concerns. The volatile environment makes it a hotspot for unpredictable and dangerous situations. Even if you're the most experienced traveler in the world, Afghanistan is just not a safe place to be right now. The once bustling streets and markets are now eerily empty. The risks are simply too high and the potential consequences are too dire. It's a sobering reality that must be acknowledged. It's heartbreaking to see the situation in Afghanistan, but it's important to prioritize your safety and stay informed about the realities on the ground. The resilience of the Afghan people is inspiring, but the dangers they face are very real. Up next, we're traveling to a country shrouded in secrecy and ruled by an iron fist, North Korea. Stay tuned as we delve into the enigmatic world of this isolated nation. Now, we're heading over to North Korea, one of the most isolated and secretive countries on Earth. This nation, often referred to as the Hermit Kingdom, has kept itself cut off from the rest of the world for decades. This is a place where one wrong word or action could land you in serious trouble. The regime's grip on power is maintained through a pervasive system of surveillance and control. North Korea is under the control of a totalitarian regime, led by Kim Jong-un, the third generation of the Kim dynasty. The government enforces strict obedience and loyalty to the ruling party, which means the government controls pretty much every aspect of people's lives, including what they say, what they do, and even what they think. Propaganda is omnipresent, shaping the thoughts and beliefs of the citizens from a very young age. Tourists are allowed in North Korea, but the experience is far from typical. Every step you take is carefully orchestrated, but they're heavily monitored and restricted in terms of where they can go and who they can talk to. The places you visit are meticulously chosen to present a specific image of the country. You'll be assigned government minders who will watch your every move and make sure you don't step out of line. These minders are trained to ensure that you see only what the regime wants you to see. And believe me, you don't want to step out of line in North Korea. The consequences of even minor infractions can be severe. Including imprisonment, torture, or even worse. The regime uses fear to maintain control, and the prison camps are notorious for their harsh conditions. The US government has a Level 4 travel advisory for North Korea, which is the highest level of warning, advising citizens not to travel there due to the serious risk of arrest and long-term detention of US nationals. The advisory highlights the unpredictable nature of the regime's actions. They've even had to negotiate the release of American citizens who were detained for seemingly minor offenses, like accidentally leaving a Bible in their hotel room. Such incidents underscore the extreme caution required when visiting. So, unless you're really into seeing the world through the lens of a tightly controlled government tour, where every interaction is scripted and every view is curated, I'd say skip North Korea. There are many other destinations where you can explore freely and experience the local culture without fear. There's a whole world out there full of amazing cultures and experiences that won't land you in a North Korean prison. From the bustling streets of Tokyo to the serene beaches of Bali, the options are endless. Stick around, because up next, we're shifting gears to another intriguing yet dangerous location. We're diving into the lawless waters off the coast of Somalia, a region notorious for its piracy issues, where pirates rule the waves. These waters have been a hotspot for pirate activity, posing significant risks to international shipping and travel. Next, we're setting sail to Somalia, a country notorious for its high levels of piracy. The waters off the coast of Somalia are some of the most dangerous in the world, with pirates regularly hijacking ships and taking hostages. These aren't your romanticized Hollywood pirates either. We're talking heavily armed criminals who are desperate and unpredictable. They're not afraid to use violence, and they're in it for one thing: money. The Somali pirates operate with speedboats and grappling hooks, attacking and boarding vessels with ruthless efficiency. They often take hostages, demanding huge ransoms for their safe return. The international community has made efforts to combat Somali piracy, with naval patrols and increased security measures, but the threat remains very real. The US government has issued a Level 4 travel advisory for Somalia, urging citizens to avoid all travel to the country. They cite the ongoing threat of terrorism, kidnapping, and piracy as major concerns. So, unless you're a seasoned sailor with a heavily armed crew and a death wish, I'd say steer clear of Somalia. The risks are just too high, and the potential consequences are too dire. Let's move on to our final destination, a country torn apart by civil war and humanitarian crisis, Yemen. Last but not least, we arrive in Yemen, a country ravaged by civil war and facing one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Imagine a country where bombs rain down from the sky, where hospitals and schools are reduced to rubble, and where millions of people are struggling to survive each day. That's the reality in Yemen. The country has been locked in a brutal civil war since 2014, with various factions vying for control. The conflict has created a power vacuum that's been exploited by terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, who have gained a foothold in the country. The ongoing fighting has resulted in widespread displacement, with millions of Yemenis forced to flee their homes in search of safety. The country is facing a severe humanitarian crisis, with widespread famine, disease, and lack of access to basic necessities. The US government has issued a Level 4 travel advisory for Yemen, urging citizens to avoid all travel to the country. They cite the high risk of terrorism, armed conflict, civil unrest, kidnapping, and wrongful detention as major concerns. Yemen is a country in desperate need of peace and stability, but until that happens, it remains an incredibly dangerous place to visit. It's a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of conflict and the importance of working towards a more peaceful world. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Remember, the world is full of incredible places to explore, but it's always important to prioritize your safety and stay informed about potential risks. Stay safe and see you in the next video.